Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Another rendition of a little core class today with Coach Dan. Guys, not going to need anything today other than possibly a mat or something. We're going to be doing some stuff in a plank position, so we'll be on our elbows. So make sure that you have some padding around just in case. But we're going to not waste any time here today and get right into it. Our warm-up's going to be a little bit different than we normally do, so we're going to start with our feet a little bit wider than shoulder width, okay? First thing I want you doing is just interlocking the fingers. You're going to press them all the way up towards the ceiling. As we're pressing our fingers up towards the ceiling, I want the hips coming forward as well. As we get to the very top, we're coming down. We're going to touch the ground, coming down. If we can touch the ground, great. If we can't get there, just stop right about at our shins. What I want you to focus on is our back and what's happening with our back. So when we are doing this toe touch from a side view, it's going to look a little bit better. Right? If I do this and touch it down, I'm just rounding with my spine. So I want you to focus on keeping your back and reaching as far as you can go. For me, it's going to be about right there until I start to feel that back round a little bit. We're just going to get 5. So reaching all the way up towards the ceiling, down, take your time. You should feel a good stretch in the hamstrings. This is also going to help loosen up the lower back a little bit. Just 5 reps. After we get 5, we're going to switch it up here. Just one more. Good. Now a hip flexor stretch. One foot's going to be forward, one foot's going to be back. The back leg, I want that foot flat on the ground. The front foot, I want your heel down and your toes up. Take your hands and put them on your hips. You're going to press your hips forward as you lean your chest back. The front of your hip and your hip flexor is going to be stretching on this one. We're just going to get 5 on each side. Go nice and slow and try to push the range of motion on this exercise. You're going to feel it'll start to engage the hip flexors and start to get a good stretch. Try to go just a wee bit further. Make sure that you're not bending from the back knee to try to gain a little bit of extra range of motion. You're trying to get that range of motion only in your hips. And then let's switch it. Okay, and that back knee bend is, if I was to turn to the side here to do this, okay, I want to find that extension through the hip. So I'm almost getting my chest taller and my legs straighter as I lean back. I don't want to do this and start bending this knee because I'm going to be able to go further back. That's just because now I'm in knee flexion. Okay, so let's keep that leg nice and straight. Press that hip forward. We're only going to get 5 on each hip here. Take your time. Get a good stretch on the hip flexors. We got a lot of lower ab stuff coming your way here today. Next, split stance position. We are going to touch our instep, and we're going to rotate to the open, to the closed side. Open side's coming up here. I'm 1 step ahead of myself. We're going to rotate to the closed side 5 times. The eyes follow the hand as we're coming up towards the ceiling there. After we hit our 5th rep, we're going to switch those hands. Now the open side. Eyes follow the hands. Take your time. Try to, again, push that range of motion at the very top. Once you start to feel like you're getting a little stuck, push that just a little bit. See if we can go a wee bit further in that rotation. Then we switch legs. And we'll go back. So the right foot's forward. The left hand is down. We're going to the closed side. We'll get 5. And then after we hit 5, we switch our hands, go back to that open side. So one more rep here. Back to that open side. Hand down. Whoa, man. Wobbly and wiggly. 3. Just 2 more, nice and slow. And 5. Okay. Perfect. Now we're going to go with a little sumo squat. So I want, again, your feet a little wider than shoulder width. Turn your feet out for me. We're going to go down into a squat nice and slow. The arms are going to raise as we descend. So as we're going down, the arms are going to raise. Okay, again, my feet are turned out in a sumo position. You're going to feel that a little bit more in the adductors. That's the groin on the inside of the legs. Still a part of the core. So drop it down, keeping that chest tall. Try to get as low as we can in that squat. We'll get 5 squats, nice and slow. After we get 5, we'll hop it up. 5. Perfect. Last but certainly not least, I want to do a little assisted pigeon. So we've done this sometimes in the cool down with me before. This is also another good active warm-up that we can do to make sure that the glutes in the lower back are warmed up before we start to get into some pretty direct work on those two areas. So I want you to lie on the side of your leg. So we're thinking the IT band, which is on the side here, the IT band and the side of your calf should be in contact with the ground. So I'm going to lay that leg across like so, okay? What I want to do is I'm going to drop my left glute towards the ground. As I do that, I'm dropping my right shoulder towards the ground as well, creating what's called a counter force. That counter force is going to get a good stretch on that glute. The further you go down, the lower you go. You might also feel that lower back start to fire. Get a good stretch as well. Just going to get 5 on each side. 5 on the left, we'll switch it. 5 on the right. When we're done here, we'll get into the fun stuff. Dropping that right glute towards the ground, the left shoulder comes down. This right side's definitely a little bit tighter. If you feel a spot, feels a little tight, hang there for me. 4 and 5. Perfect. All right. Crew, quick sip of water, and we're going to get into our first series here. All right. Now, guys, again, the only thing we're going to need is a mat. We're going to be doing some plank work today. So if you don't have a mat, maybe a doubled up towel just for the elbows. But what I want to do and where I want to start is what's called a tall kneel position. So our tall kneel position is going to be both knees down. Now, here's where I see a lot of errors in a tall kneel position. Sometimes it could be a barbell rollout. It could be using rollers, sliders, what have you. But in this position, I want you to find a 45-degree angle. So from my ear to my knee should be a good 45-degree angle. And where I see a lot of errors is this. You start to see an athlete press their butt back. So this exercise is incredible for your pillar core, especially for those of you who are interested in getting a better 45-degree angle in a sprint. Even for those of you who are just interested in developing the lower abs and protecting the lower back. So in this position, right, you can't have your butt pressed away from the hands. Now you also, the inverse of that, you can't have your hips too far forward towards your hands, because then we're basically just in a cobra position. There's way too much extension on the lumbar. It's putting us kind of in a prone spot. So we got to find that happy medium. I'm going to raise my feet up off of the ground, find that 45-degree angle, and all we're going to do in the first exercise is we're going to alternate our reach. Now, as long as they stay forward, we're perfect. But the second piece of this, and the key piece, or the second key piece, I should say, is that the shoulders are not riding up. So when I'm doing this, my shoulders are riding up, right? If my upper traps are taking over, right, I'm really, really stressing the upper traps, and the upper traps always want to take over. I want us to focus on keeping the shoulders down and in. Why is that? Great question. Because the lower traps help us in good posture. Think about it, right? If my shoulders are riding up, this is probably poor posture for most people. If the shoulders are nice and down and back, right, and the lower traps are finding their shoulders down, this is a good posture position. So that's where we want to be for that. So that tall kneel arm reach is going to be 10 on each arm. When we're done, we go to our regular plank reach. So plank position, and all we're going to do is alternate our reach. Looks super simple, except for when we're doing this, do not allow the hips to roll side to side. If you had lasers on your hips, both of those lasers should be pointed straight at the ground. If your hips are rolling, those lasers are going right to the left. We're not doing a good job of stabilizing the core and bracing against anti-rotation. Now, similar position, still plank position. Now we do a toe raise. The same rules are going to apply for our hips. You're going to notice it's going to be a little bit easier to stabilize and not allow them to roll, but still focus on that and keeping those lasers pointed straight at the ground. Both of those, the reach and the toe raise, are going to be 10 per arm or 10 per leg. Last but not least is going to be an oblique crunch. We're going to bend our legs, okay, at about a 45-degree angle. See if I got my geometry dialed in today. Okay, bring your heels close to your butt. Now, when we're here, I want you to try to square your shoulders up with your hip. A lot of the times when I see oblique crunches, your shoulders aren't square, so people are crunching like this. right? And then all you're doing is just wrenching your neck. You're not getting any higher on your oblique. You're not causing that oblique to fire anymore. It's on a greater contraction. So when you're here, give yourself a second, roll your shoulder, and then we're going to come up. You're going to notice that the feet are going to want to raise up like this. That will also be 10 per side. So we're 3 by 10 across the board. We're going to cycle through this pretty quickly. Take this at your own pace, okay? But once we're going through and once we kind of get close to the end, I will make sure we call it, and we're going to grab a little water and we're going to rest for a second before we go into our second series today. So I'm going to go a little bit faster than I normally do today. So hang with me if you'd like, or feel free to go at your own pace. But without further ado, as they say, shall we? Okay? Shoulders are down and in, the hips are forward. We find our 45-degree angle. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure the shoulders aren't riding up. 5, 6, 7. 2 more. Last one, and good. We're in a plank position. Arm reach. Now, if your hips are rolling, widen your feet up. Go a little bit wider with the feet. The more narrow our feet are, the closer they are together, the harder this will be in preventing against that rotation. So widen those feet up. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Good. Yeah, my shoulders are burning a little bit. Okay, feel free to give yourself a rest there for a second. Prop yourself back up. Okay, and we're going to reset. Alternate those kicks. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. In the plank position, one thing we didn't talk about in the beginning, make sure that those shoulders are not retracted in the scaps. They should not be down and in. You should be protracting them away. Okay, our oblique crunch. Square those shoulders up. 2, 3, and 10. Good. Switch to the other side. Okay, get those shoulders. And 10. Very good. Back to the top of the order here, guys. That is the end of round 1. It's all in the old position. Find that 45-degree angle. Once you're ready, we'll alternate. Be mindful of your shoulders. 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, even in that exercise, even in that tall kneel, we should still be focusing on our hips, not rolling exactly like we're doing right now with our plank. Okay, give yourself a second to rest on those shoulders. Head back to that tall kneel like I was talking about. When we're switching and we're in a 3-point, which whether we're doing an arm raise, leg raise, you're now relying on 3 points of contact. The body is going to naturally want to roll onto, right, its side that has 2 points down. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. So let's just say for this, for example's sake, right, when I go right, left, let's say I'm raising this left leg up, my body's naturally going to want to go to the right, okay? Make sure you're keeping your hip down towards the ground. Don't allow it to roll onto the side that has 2 points of contact on the ground. And 10. Very good. Back to that oblique crunch. Lie the legs across. Pull the heels in towards the butt. Square the shoulders up. Now, make sure in the oblique crunch, you should not be wrenching the neck. Don't pull on your neck. It's not going to feel great. and 10. Good, last one. I'm gonna do this one facing you guys so you can see kind of what I was talking about with that 3-point. Okay, my knees are down. I find that 45-degree angle, the shoulders are down and in. When I raise this right, my body is gonna wanna naturally shift to the left and vice versa. I'm trying to keep my hips square with the ground. Don't allow those shoulders to retract in or start tracking up towards your ear. Remember, that shoulder position is going to be key for promoting good posture. Ten, very good. Plank position. See what we got, arm reach. This round, I want you to try with your feet close together. Go super close, almost like the ankles are touching each other, and see the difference. Now, you can do a couple reps if it's too much. I just want you to feel this, okay? Just for the sake of the exercise. Right? Once we're here, see how much harder this is? Widen them up if you have to. Gotta work on that with my feet close together. That one's tough. Toe raise. Give yourself a second of rest here. Let those shoulders rest. Toe raise. Again, let's go feet close together. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. Last one on the oblique crunch. As promised, this is the last exercise. Okay, when we're done, we'll grab some water and we're gonna rest here. Lie those legs across. I want you to try to sit all the way up onto your hip. Lying down and square the shoulders up. Get your chest up. And 10. Other side. Other side. Flip it. And 10. Whew. In theory, you guys should be feeling that somewhere in the core region. Woo! All that. Little water, little rest. Take a second to give your core a break here, crew. All right. Now, for my next trick, series 2, we're going to get a little bit more direct on the 6-pack, the rectus abdominis, for those of you playing at home, okay? The first 2 exercises are going to be 50 reps, followed by the second 2 exercises at 10 reps. Now, let's talk about what we're doing here. Let me get my mat situated. Okay, we're going to do flutter kicks. We are going to do what are called over-unders. We have a heel scoop and a toe scoop. Now, we're going to spend a lot of time on our back. So before we even go through these 4 exercises, let's talk about what we do not want to happen. When we're lying down, right, and we're doing anything where those legs, right, are lifting up off the ground, it's going to be common for the lower back to arch. Right, you're going to feel it lift up off the ground. We do not want that. It's going to put the lower back in a prone spot. So I want you to think about, if you had a belt buckle on, take that belt buckle and point the belt buckle towards you. Yeah, that's an easy way to get the hips to roll towards you. Now, if you're doing this, okay, take that same principle, roll the belt buckle away. When you roll the belt buckle away from you, you're going to feel that arch. Roll it towards you, you're going to feel the arch go away, and you're going to feel your lower back on the ground. We want to maintain this position for all 4 exercises. It is not easy to do, especially when the 6-pack starts to get pretty fatigued, and you're also going to get the hip flexors a little fatigued in this one. So if we need to, take your hands and wedge them underneath your butt to lock your lower back down. If you would like to try the exercises with your arms out to the side, be my guest. the last thing that you can do if you are near a couch or anything that you can anchor yourself down without pulling it over and hitting yourself in the head. Be careful. Anchor yourself. Say I was leg chair here. That's going to help me anchor and keep my lower back on the ground. So I'm going to do this with my hands underneath my butt, okay? And the first thing we're going to do is flutter kicks. So on our flutter kick, I don't want you up super high here. I want your legs really, really close to the ground. They should be at a position, like right now I can feel my six-pack firing. And all I'm going to do is just flutter kick here. We're going to do 50. Now, the over-under, I'm going to take my left foot, go over top of my right, and then my right foot's going to come over top of my left. I'm going to find the same position. As you get tired, make sure your legs don't start floating up here. Keep them low. There's 50 reps on both of those exercises. If you need to take a break and you can't knock out 50 and then go right back into another 50, that's fine. Take your time. If you feel your lower back lifting up, take your time. Readjust, right? You can try with your hands underneath your butt. Maybe that's not working. Give yourself a second and grab something that you can to keep the lower back on the ground. So it's the flutter kick and the over-under are both 50. When we're done, we're going to do what's called a heel scoop and a toe scoop. Same rules apply. I'm going to put my hands underneath my butt. My heel scoop, my legs are going to start at 90. I'm going to kick them all the way out, and I'm going to act like I'm scooping sand up towards my butt, and then I reset my heels and my legs back to the starting position. That's going to be 10 all the way out and in is 1. We'll get 10 of those. The last one, we oppose that motion. We're going to act like we're digging our toes into sand and then throwing it up over our heads, dig them in, throw it up over. That will be 10 as well. So, in review, flutter kick 50, over unders 50, heel scoop, toe scoop 10 and 10. 3 rounds going in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Flutter kick, this is 50 total. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24, 25, 26, 31, 32, 40, 41, 42, 43, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. Now, keep the lower back on the ground. My hip flexors are already feeling it. Keep the hands underneath the butt if you're there. You can try arms up to the side if you want. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, and 50. Woo! Again, should feel it somewhere in this core midsection region, if my calculations are correct. Hands underneath our butt, heel scoop all the way out, scoop that sand up to your butt. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Toe scoop, dig it in, throw it up over your head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10. Okay, now, as I'm going along there and I'm starting to feel some fatigue, I can feel that lower back lifting up. Take your time. If you need to reset, you need to give yourself a second, let the legs rest, let a little bit of that burning sensation go away. It's fine. We're going to go back to our flutter kicks. I'm keeping the hands underneath my butt because I want to lock that lower back down. Remember the belt buckle. Turn the belt buckle towards you. Get the lower back on the ground. Right, 50. Whew. I wish those over-unders went as fast as the flutter kicks. They seem to be times move super slow. It's like we're in Inception when I have to do this. 1, 2, 4, 8, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Keep that lower back down. 42, 43, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. Yikes. Heel scoop. Keep the lower back down, right? Find your position. If you need to reset, that's okay. 2, 3. We don't need to blaze through this one. Good. A little rest if you need it. Now, as we go out in the heel scoop and the toe scoop, one thing I forgot to say, kick those feet out as far as you can go. That'll give you a little added challenge. If you're too shallow, if you're too close, and it's not a big circle that you're creating with your legs, it's not going to be as much of a challenge on that core. 9 and 10. Okay, give ourselves a second here. Last one. Now, last one, I want you to try, for the sake of the exercises, try with your arms out. This is going to be a little bit different. When the arms are out, the legs are not going to be as low. Right? If I try to kick my legs up to where they are, this is a super hard challenge on the core. Okay, so I might need to raise them up a little bit, but just feel the difference. Give yourself a couple reps on that, okay, and you'll feel, right? You'll feel the lower back wanting to lift up. Don't allow it to. Shut it down before that. But let's see how far we can go without using our hands or without anchoring ourselves down. How good are you at getting that belt buckle to turn and point at your head? Don't go super fast on this. Be controlled. Shut it down when you have to. Right there. Started to feel like I was losing my lower back. Hands come underneath the butt. We finish it out. Might be able to increase the pace a little bit when the hands are underneath the butt. Perfect. Over-unders, I do not want you to try with your arms out. Too many moving parts, too much going on in that equation. Keep your hands underneath your butt or keep your hands anchored above your head. Okay? See what we got. 12, 13, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 30, 31, 32, 33, 36, 37, 38, 40, 41, 42, 43, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. Woo! Inception. That takes forever. Still confused by the ending of that movie. Here we go. Heel scoops. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, last one. Toe scoop. And we rest. Here we go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Yeah, somewhere in this region, firing. A little more, a little rest. Whew. One more full cycle here. After that full cycle, we're going to rest for a second. We'll go into our cool down. All right. The next one, we've got 5 rounds. This is going to take us a little bit of time. The first exercise we're going to do, we're in a side plank position. Let's just talk about where your fist is in relationship to your elbow. Your fist should not be up here, and it should not be down here. It should be directly across from your elbow. So if you're looking at me from a front profile, possibly. If you're looking at me coming from this way, it would be a 90-degree angle. Okay, so I got my elbow underneath my shoulder. I'm supported. What I want you to do is we're going to raise our hip up. We raise the hip up. The top knee, or the top hip, goes into hip flexion. We drive the knee towards the chest. We're going to get 10 on that one. Again, let's see that one again. From a bird's eye view, from my ear to my ankle is going to be a perfect straight line. So I raise up, knee comes up, and then I reset. We'll get 10 of those. When we're done, I want you to lie on your shoulder. So when you're done, plank, side plank, hip flexion on the left side, we immediately go into our side plank leg abduction, where we're going to go fast. We're going to get 10 on the right, and then we flip it over. We do the opposite side, so we'll go back to our side plank hip tap with a top knee, with a top hip flexion. We'll do 10, and then we lie on our side, and we do our leg abduction. When we're done that, we roll over onto our back. We're going to do back bridge marching with hip flexion. So I'm going to bring my knee up, okay? Just bring it up as high as you can go. I don't need you to try to get the knee all the way to the chest and cause everything in our pillar core to roll towards us. Remember that belt buckle, thing we were talking about earlier, right? I don't want the belt buckle to roll towards me when I'm doing this hip flexion. I want to keep my hips up. So my hips are up, that belt buckle will be pointed straight at the ceiling. Don't go too far to a point where the belt buckle then turns and points at us, okay? So we start with our side plank to our top hip flexion. We go to our leg abduction, right? We'll flip over to the other side, do the same thing, and then we go to our back bridge march with hip flexion. Remember, this is 5 rounds. We are going to cruise through this, so it should leave us about 7 or so minutes to stretch. Okay, here we go. Up, drive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make sure the hip does not dip down as we drive this knee up as high as we can go. And 10. Good. Leg abduction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Flip it over. 1, 2, 3. Bottom hip up as high as you can go. Very good. Leg abduction. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Back bridge march with that hip flexion. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Perfect. Flip it back over to that side plank here. Side plank hip flexion. That back bridge march with hip flexion, by the way, was 10 total. 10 total. Up. 1, 2, 3, 4. If this is too hard, you can always bend the bottom knee. You can always come up and go here. Okay? Just as a little change if it's too much on that bottom hip. And 10. Good. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Remember, bottom knee can go down if you need to. That's fine. 1, 2. 10. Should feel those, the bottom of that oblique and the hips firing pretty good on this series. Remember, the hips, still part of that lumbopelvic hip region, still super important and definitely a part of the core. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Keep those hips up on that back bridge. That's the end of round 2. We got 3 more rounds to go. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Good. Leg abduction. 1, 4, 5, and 10. That leg abduction, you should feel the top of that hip firing. and 10. Line on our side. And 10. End of round 3 here in our march. We get down to 2 rounds to go. And 10. Last 2 here. Last 2 rounds. Let's cruise through it. Remember, if it's burning, if you need a little bit of a different little change in that exercise to help out a little bit, that bottom knee can be down. We do the same thing. 2, okay? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Good, on our side. 3, and 10. Flip it over. Woo! 1, 2, 3, 4. And 10. Flip it over. Okay, hips up. 2, 3. Don't let those hips drop. And 10. The last series here, guys. Last series should leave us with about 6 minutes to stretch. I was 1 minute off. Plenty of time to stretch coming up here. Big deep breath. Last set of the day. Good. 1, 2, 3. And 10. Good. Flip it. 10. Sideline. 2, 4, 5, 10. We made it. Final exercise of the day. We're gonna grab some water. We're gonna stretch when we're done here. Hips. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Ladies and gentlemen, nicely done. Shouldn't have been too hard of a core day, hopefully. We're gonna rest here for a second to reposition the mat. Rest here for just a minute, guys, just a minute. Quick sip of water if you need it. Got about 5 minutes, give or take, to get a good cool down here. All right. Now, let's spend some time stretching it out here. I'm going to go straight ahead at you guys. I want your feet a little bit wider than shoulder width, okay? And what I want us doing, we're going to start with our arms up over our head like we did in the beginning during our warm-up. Okay, and we're going to side bend. Nice and slow. And I want you to think about trying to get your left shoulder to your left hip. That means that when I side bend, the left shoulder should not be coming forward. It should not be going back. I should be doing almost a perfect side bend. Left shoulder to left hip. I reset nice and slow. Right shoulder to right hip. Now, depending on where we're tight, might feel this in a couple of different areas, a couple different spots. For me, for sure, my groin is firing. So that means when I go to the left here, that right groin, or actually my left groin is firing pretty good there. And then vice versa. Right, when I lean to my right groin is firing. Pretty good, okay? You might also feel it in the opposite oblique. So when I go to my left, you might feel that right oblique firing, or when you're going to the right, you might feel the left oblique firing. What I want you focusing on, we're just going to get 5. We've kind of been talking through this a little bit, so let's just get about 3 more on each side. Take your time, get a nice slow side bend. See if we can find that groin or find that oblique depending on where we're tight. Perfect. Now we're going to keep our feet wide and we're going to go hip circles. So I'm going to press my hips in a counterclockwise motion. I'm going to go as far as I can, and I want to try to trace that circle. So I don't want to cut any corners. I want to be smooth in the circle that I create. My hips stay forward, my feet stay forward. We're going to challenge the hips in a little internal external rotation. Okay, 5 counterclockwise, and then we go 5 clockwise, big circles. Right? Make sure the feet are not moving. All the movement is coming from the hips here. We're keeping our chest tall the whole time. We're trying to trace big circles, as big as we can possibly go. Okay, big circles, just 5. When we're done, we're going to come down. We're going to bring our hands down, just like we did in our warm-up. We're going to find a spot where our lower back, right, or our spine specifically is not rounding. For me, it's going to be about right here. Okay, and once I'm here, take a big deep breath in, big deep breath out. Let's see if we can get the hamstrings to stretch a little bit. Remember, those hamstrings tie in to the bottom of your pelvis, so they are still part of that lumbopelvic hip region, and by definition, still part of the core. If you were to ask me, so sometimes if those hamstrings are tight, it can cause a little bit of lower back irritation. So take your time, keep your back flat. Don't allow that back to round. We're just going to get about 3 deep breaths, and when we're done, we're going to come to a split stance position. 1 foot forward. I want your back foot straight on. The back heel is going to be down. Find our balance there. Okay, if my left foot's forward, my left hand's on my hip. My right hand is going to reach across that closed side. I'm going to try to open that space between my hip and my rib right here. Okay, I'm still actively pressing my right hip forward towards you guys. I'm still reaching across. Take a big deep breath in, big deep breath out. As we exhale, you should be able to get a little bit further and further into that stretch. Well, we're just going to do 3. 3 on each side. Take your time. Switch it up for me. Remember, both feet are flat on the ground. Don't allow that back heel to raise up. I'm going to initiate by pressing my left hip forward towards you. My right hand goes to my right hip, and my left hand reaches across that closed side. Big breath in, big exhale going out. 1, 2, and 3. Now, guys, the last thing we are going to do today, this is the final exercise, my favorite, not to be confused with favorite, is the cobra, okay? We're going to relax our shoulders down and in. We're going to press our hips forward. Right, we're basically doing what I told you not to do in that first tall kneel exercise. And we're going to do this for a minute. We'll press our hips forward. We're going to go here in 3, 2, 1. So I press my hips forward. I try to find my chest nice and tall here, right? If I want to bring my eyes up towards the ceiling or my head up towards the ceiling, that's fine. Just make sure that those shoulders are not riding up and we're not sinking down. Prop yourself up the whole time. Now, when we're here, just slowly move to the left. Slowly move back to the right. When I move to the right side, I can feel my left oblique stretching. So take note of that. Take note if you feel a side tighter than one tighter than the other. Switch to the left, switch to the right. I can feel when I switch to that right, that left oblique is definitely firing and definitely a little bit tighter. So I'm going to hang there. When I get back to that in a second, make sure we're finding our breath to the left. Now for me on this right side, I'm a little bit tighter, so I'm going to take a big deep breath here. Big breath in. Big breath out. Should feel those hips relax towards the ground. 1 more deep breath in. 1 more breath out. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, I appreciate you guys tuning in today. It's been my pleasure. I hope everyone is healthy and well, and we hope to see you soon. Thank you.